Shan and I are hunting everywhere across Singapore for historic objects. Their original owners may have sold them or given them away, but they can still turn up in antique shops, even some pretty big items.
Hey, look at this. This is an opium bed, right?
Yes. I guess in today's conventional nomenclature, we would call it opium bed. But effectively, they're, well, I would say a day bed. Most middle-class families, Chinese families, would have this.
So how do they actually get called opium beds then?
I suspect it's probably because of the stereotypical image that they have, you know, in those old black-white photos from the 19th century and the early 20th century, showing all these Chinese guys lying there smoking them.
Yeah, but I mean, opium was a legitimate thing. It was, people were really smoking it, they were really eating it, and they were doing business with it.
Well, absolutely. Opium was big business. The government gave out all these grants or licenses for people to start up opium farms. If once you get the license, you want to make as much money as possible, so you sell as much opium as possible.
Opium was mostly taken by the coolies. It was a temporary escape from their harsh lives and a companionable way of passing the time. Of course, it was highly addictive, so the sellers would always be sure of repeat custom. And this is what made it a good business. So, John, if you look at it from a 21st century perspective, looking back on the opium trade, of course, it seemed like a horror. The drug trade of its time destroyed people's lives, turned them into addicts.
Yeah, well, that's in hindsight, of course. Back in the 19th century, early 20th century, it was a legitimate product. You can just go up to the counter and purchase it. In fact, a lot of respectable men of society made their money from selling opium. I think I've tracked down an object which may tell us a little bit more about this time.
Let's get there. The leafy suburbs seem an unlikely place to find anything associated with the opium trade, but you never know.
Hi.
Hi there.
Anita.
Hi, Anita. Boone. I'm Chan. Thanks for having us.
I think you have something for us.
I think so.
Let's go take a look.
Take a look.
What is this?
It's the Tan Jiak Kim fountain.
Hang on a second. Now, Jiak Kim as in Jiak Kim Street.
Jiak Kim Street, Jiak Kim Bridge. That's all him. That's a picture of Tan Jiak Kim. There we are.
Gosh, look at this. This is brass, like heavy brass.
Tan Jiak Kim was a successful pioneer in banking and insurance. He served for many years in the Legislative Council, where he made it a priority to protect the interests of the Straits Chinese and help the poor. He even helped fund a medical school and scholarships for medical students to study abroad.
I'm seeing all kinds of animals all over this. We've got a stork up there, frogs, fish, goldfish, gargoyles in the middle of everything, and this is Japanese salamander. There's something down there as well.
Yes.
Ah.
Names of the 14 people who came together to give this to him. Right. So it says presented to the Honorable Tan Jiak Kim by the following gentlemen. And these are all the famous prominent merchants and leaders of society.
What would be going on that they would have gotten together to give this as a gift of some sort to the Honorable Tan Jiak Kim?
Well, Tan Jiak Kim was an honorable man, not just inscribed over here. But looking at the list of merchants here, they are involved in all sorts of enterprises, you know, from shipping to banking, finance, plantations, and even opium.
In fact, at least 9 of the businessmen on the plaque have connections with the opium trade. Tan Jiak Kim had a seat on a commission set up to regulate the opium trade, and although there is no proof, it is possible that the businessman donated the fountain in thanks for his work on the commission.
Why did you decide that this was important to your collection?
Well, one look at the thing, when something is this good looking, you just have to have it. When it was first made available, something from a very prominent family, and wanted to make a bid for it, and before I could even make an offer, it was gone.
So you've been chasing this down?
Okay, I lost it there and then years later, I was just told, guess what, it's available again. And I said, right, so
let's take a look at it. And it was available, offered to me quite exclusively, or at least I thought it was. And yeah, bought it.
Well, it's got such a lot of history. It's extremely strange and quite mysterious. I'm going to absolutely have to have this in the People's Collection, and I must ask your permission. Can we have it in the People's Collection?
Yes. Say when.
Seriously, like now, maybe?
Now? As in today?
Yeah, because it's already on a trolley.
Why not?
Thank you.
With so much business going on in Singapore, money was a big deal. But there wasn't a Singapore dollar yet. So I'm off to find out a bit more about how money worked at the time. We're here at the Singapore Coins and Notes Museum, and together with me is my good friend, Dr. Donna Bonero. Donna, can you tell me what sort of currencies was used in the early 20th century of Singapore?
Yes, I can. In fact, there were a lot of different types of currencies being used. There was the silver dollar, there was copper currency, there was also the Indian rupee. So quite a few different currencies circulating at the time.
Well, that sounds quite confusing.
So this was the solution. This was the new straight dollar, which was introduced in around 1903. And so what it did was created one consistent currency for the straight settlement.
So let's say I'm a Japanese merchant, and how would I exchange these monies?
Just the way you would normally in the present day. Well, actually, it was pegged to the British pound. You could use these in everyday exchanges.
So if you're able to paint me a picture, how was the economy like just before the war, from 1900 to 1941?
Singapore, from say the 1890s onwards, was really booming in terms of trade. You'd had the opening of the Suez Canal, you'd had the advent of the steamship, and trade was flourishing.
The busy harbour and waterfront, the fine buildings and crowded modern streets bespeak her importance as a free port and the greatest transshipment centre in the East, where practically everything that is made can be purchased duty-free, with the result, Singapore is one of the cheapest shopping centres in the entire world. Much of the plan of the present city is due to its founder, Stamford Raffles, and the square which is the heart of its business life bears his name. On it face many banks, offices, retail and commercial establishments.
When was this currency phased out?
It existed right through until around the 1960s, I believe.
Wow. So this before the independence, almost,
Yes.
right? Wow.
Yes.
While Chen is looking at banknotes, I've come to one of the places they have traditionally been spent, Arab Street. I'm here on the trail of another artifact for the People's Collection. Singapore was an important staging post on the Hajj route from Asia. Pilgrims to Mecca would gather in Singapore and avoid dishonest travel brokers. This looks like a good place to hunt, one of Singapore's oldest shops.
Mr. Mohammed.
Yes, hello.
Anita.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm very well. I've never been to your shop before. This is my first time.
This shop is opened by my father, 1924.
1924. Okay.
And he is very keen to make a belt.
What kind of belt is that?
It's a Haji belt.
Okay.
He wear this belt.
Oh, this is the Hajj
This
belt.
yeah. People who perform the Hajj, they must use this one. This is very old belt.
So your
When my
father
father
made this,
made this.
and he made it here in Singapore.
In Singapore, he opened the factory,
So this is your family's.
logo.
What does it actually say here?
Yeah, Malas, you mean original.
Original. Okay, tell me a little bit about the function of this belt. This is for money?
Money, yes.
Put money in here. What's this for?
This for the key, hanging the key. We import the material all over the world. From Italy, from Japan, from Czechoslovakia,
It's a
from Roman.
completely international belt.
Yes, international.
It's from all over the world.
You cannot say this made in Singapore, made in international.
Tell me a little bit about your father.
This is my father.
So tell me what each of these things
This
are.
is the labor pass, 1927,
Okay, issued by
by the British government.
British government. Look at all the writing. He was 25 years old.
At that age, he is very handsome, you know.
Gosh. And what is this?
It is a British nationality certificate.
And it's still the same address, same place, all these years.
Same name, same address, same place.
I will show you something. This is my granddad, taken in the 1960s.
What a mustache!
Yeah, he's famous for his mustache.
Gosh. Mr. Mohammed, you have a piece of Singapore history here, and it's also very important, you know, to Islamic culture. And I'd really like to include all of this in our people's collection, and I'd like to seek your permission, if that would be okay for us to put it on display.
No problem. You can do it, no problem.
Thank you very much, because this is really important.
Well, this tip-off we received from this very quirky woman, she says she has this really mysterious item from the pre-war period.
Quirky, mysterious, exactly from the period that we're looking for treasures. This sounds like our kind of thing.
You don't think that's suspicious?
Oh.
Even the most ordinary HDB block can hold a story and hide a treasure.
I think we might be in for quite a treat. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi,
Nancy. Good to meet you. I'm Anita.
Nice to meet
I'm
you.
Chan. Thanks for having us.
Come, I got something to show you in my antique room.
You have an antique room?
Yes.
This sounds promising.
Just a small antique room for you all to see.
And you have a very unusual house too.
Is it? Just decorate up in here. Okay?
In here?
In here, come.
Oh, this is cool.
This one I keep very long already.
What's this?
Oh, this is the Qing Dynasty tableware.
Oh, look at this. Wow.
Oh, what a beautiful cash box you got.
This is my father's cash box. He always keep the cash here.
Well, this is one of those very
Very antique.
quintessential 20th century thing. Newton, Shakespeare and company. There would have been a tray to separate all
I think I
the
lost
coins
the
or
tray.
shillings, as they call it.
shilling, yes.
Back then.
And lots of cash.
Yeah.
Why do you collect all these things?
I like to keep all antique things.
Yeah. You got anything else?
How about this one?
Oh,
Oh,
Tiger,
this.
which my
yes.
father shoot.
Oh, look at this. Big game hunting in Singapore.
A team of friends, my father's friend, my uncle's friend, who team up to shoot this tiger in Pasir Panjang.
I guess it's the 1920s from the age
Yeah,
of the photo.
1928.
1928, yeah. So, well, even back then they were shooting tigers because they were a menace to society. They were eating up people all the time.
So to call it big game hunting though, well, it's slightly inaccurate. Was there game hunting?
It's not so much an adventure or sport in that case, but apparently what happens is the municipal government and the rural board, they engage the local agriculturists right there to form a group and to go tiger hunting. And there was a reward for shooting the tiger. So I'm guessing that your father is amongst one.
My father is very young. This is number 14 uncle. This one is the first uncle. Last time we only had 2 guns only, so the 2 uncle is holding the gun. My father is still very young.
So this is your father, obviously,
This is
later
my
on.
father. The later on.
Everyone seems to be quite happy here.
This is my dad.
Yeah.
He's holding a gun.
So this is that.
Yeah, there's a bandolier of shotgun shells and cartridges.
So these are obviously empty.
Yes, well, I would guess so because they're all been spent. Today's firearm control laws, you're not allowed to have these things, but yeah, these would have been the shotgun shells, cartridges, the empty cartridges, and I'm holding one that's made in Singapore. I believe it has the Chap Ayam brand, the chicken brand.
Okay, and before sardines.
Before, so I don't think they're the same conglomerate. Oh, you got one probably made in the UK, yeah, the Ellie. This is one of those that's from the United Kingdom. Back then, your father and his colleagues or peers would actually just, if they needed a gun, or a rifle or shotgun or anything like that, you can just walk into Robinson's or John Little's at Raffles Place and buy one off the catalog.
Group photos of hunters were commonplace during this period.
The interesting thing is I noticed this was taken in the studio. I think it's
Yes, the studio.
Wah Sing Studio, I think, in Singapore. So obviously they got a professional photographer in 1928 to come down to take their trophy.
I see there's a number of articles here. I'm assuming that this photo has actually been reproduced many times. The oldest is probably this. This is in 1979. The way we were when tiger shooting was tough work. Shooting tigers in Singapore may be a joke to people today, but during the early years of the century, it was quite serious and dangerous business for our courageous pioneers, like your dad.
Yeah.
What did your dad tell you about this time? What stories did he share with you?
She told me she shoot a lot of bats.
Bats?
Bats.
And what do you do with it after that? Just eat or?